What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, very special guest, second time on the program. Haven't seen him in a long time, Jerry Chatelain. We are here to talk about E4 Comics' own The Elements. This is the Dysis Saga. We are getting into part 2, so there's a lot out there. And what is it? Since the last project, I believe it's been like a year and a half right now.
About.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have a lot of questions. Word.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
So to get right into it, where we left off, and I know exactly where we left off as far as Elements-Dysis Saga Part 1. But if you could reintroduce the elements to us once again for the audience.
All right. The Elements is about 4 brothers that were found abandoned in a forest by sisters from an orphanage. They got taken into the orphanage and they were raised in the orphanage by the sisters. So they were there with a bunch of, other orphan kids and everything. Before their 18th birthday, they got word that they might be leaving or being asked to leave the orphanage because the brothers were always discovered to be something special. They were stronger, faster than regular people to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So they overheard the situation and thought that it would be the best idea for them to leave the orphanage. So one night they put a plan together. They decided to leave the orphanage. During their time leaving the orphanage through the woods, they said to themselves, since we're leaving a place that we know, how about we do a little quick game of manhunt, a little game they grew up playing, which is also a game me and my boys grew up playing. So,
Right.
And in that moment, they had, I guess you would say, like a hallucination, which introduced them to their stones, which
Mm-hmm.
gave them the powers of fire, wind, water, and electricity. After that night being so weird, they decided to return back to the orphanage. The next morning, the orphanage was under attack by a force named the Chronos. So the brothers were forced to defend the orphanage, and then they went to defend the town nearby, which is when they discovered that they had these abilities. They were assisted by a guy named Clenith, who helped defeat the Chronos that was there, and decided to take the boys under his wings to teach them about the stones.
Now, Clenith
So,
is like an extraterrestrial being. He is not from the planet where they're from.
nope, he is definitely an extraterrestrial being. So he has history of the stones, which I don't know if you know, but I've actually created a spin-off of the
Mm-hmm.
elements called the Clenith story.
The Clenith story. Yep.
So, so those that see Clenith in the elements, they see a hooded guy, and his story will show you his form before becoming that hooded guy, and it will get into his background story of how he got to become the hooded guy.
Got you.
So he has a whole history of the stones and elementals. So he decides to take the brothers under his wing to teach them and train them about their newfound powers and how to use their abilities, which is what issue 2, Burning the Truth, is about. It's
Got
basically the boys have to make that decision, like, are you guys gonna, step up to the mantle and become the elemental warriors? Because the Chronos are coming. They know the stones are here, they're coming. Like, there's no stopping that. So you guys are gonna have to make a choice to defend the earth or try and run and hide, which you're really not gonna be able to. So the brothers decided that they were going to go under the training. So after the training happened, the end of issue 2, basically you see the ship return to like one of the escaping Chronos henchmen escape, and they return to a ship where they originally introduced Dysis, and they tell Dysis like, "Yo, we think we found the elemental stones. Like, they're
right.
on this planet called Earth."
What's crazy
So,
about the end of issue 1,
mhm,
and thank you for that, because the boys are pretty much novices when they
mhm,
first start out. Clenith, of course, has agreed to train them, and if you want to find something comparable to what Clenith is, think of a Zordon character, think of a Master Splinter that is just
yep,
basically taking the boys under their wing, knows that they have the greatest of potentials, but then also understands that they don't know shit, you know?
mhm,
So when they are basically encountered by Dices, they're overmatched, you
yeah,
know? At first, they're completely overmatched. They're like, all right, we got to spread out because we don't want to get the townsfolk involved and have them run amok and everything like that. And they get into this quarrel, but then Dices decides to do one of the most craziest things at the end of issue 1.
Yes, he does.
I mean,
And he says,
I believe the Japanese call it shippens, which is basically where you commit suicide by just stabbing yourself in the stomach. Was he ashamed of himself?
so that's what it looks like at the end of issue 3. That's exactly how it looks like. So Dyce's ability, when you boil it down, is that he can split matter, right? He can
Okay.
split atom, he can split matter, thing. So if you notice in some of the previews in issue 2 or the animation of my Kickstarter that's out,
Right.
you'll notice that there's a couple of different colored dices now.
Okay.
So
Yes. So that's
so
his way of splitting himself apart.
exactly. So in the beginning of issue 3, if you notice, each brother fought dices separately.
Yes.
So what Dices was doing, he was analyzing their fighting styles, what they're capable of. So
Hmm.
once he caught that knowledge down, he was like, all right, bet. So now I'm going to split myself and I'm going to basically make a copy that's going to go against those boys. Because
Mm,
now I have their fighting patterns, I got their styles and everything. So I'm going to create 4 clones that should be able to counter them and deal with them while I go do my stuff on the side.
I got it. I got it. Now, the one thing I will say, going from the Clenith Saga issue 1, issue 2, even the original issue 0 that you created for the Elements long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was a long, long time ago. I'm talking about like 2021, around then. The one thing I see in the progression of the series is how much more manga is starting to get infused in this comic.
Yeah.
So how is all this coming along, man? Because this is a whole uncharted territory that you're starting to get through.
Well, a lot of it has to do with my artist. So with issue 1, from issue 0, which, we don't really make no more. We don't make at all or
I
whatever. I
have
still
it.
have a few copies. But of course you got it. So from that issue 0 was a different artist.
Okay.
Then we got to the awakening, which is issue 1 was a different artist. Unfortunately, with that artist, we had a few complications with that artist. He was going through a lot of personal issues, and the project was being delayed. So after issue 1, I had to find another artist, and she has been phenomenal. She has been for issue 2, issue 3, and also been doing issue 4 with us. And she's even created the first issue of the Clenith story. So her style is very much that, including with my love of anime and manga as well. So me and her collaborating together is just like a match made in heaven, So you already know me, I'm always into anime. I've been going through my anime, still watching my animes and everything. So it's very easy for me to see something and be like, oh yeah, this is like a great idea. And
Yeah.
then even with the other 3 guys that I work with, my boys, they see things that they like and they're like, yeah, we need to include that. Yeah, oh yeah, we need to include that, So I think there's always gonna be that aspect of anime and manga in this.
So if we're talking from that, like what were the early influences, like as far as the anime that maybe you've watched or that you've been watching?
So I'll always tell people that if you're a big fan of the Avatar, The Last Airbender,
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z, or like Ninja Turtles, this is kind of like a great mix
Right.
of all of that, because DBZ, as much as it's my number 1 anime because it introduced me to anime, but there's still flaws about DBZ that bothers me.
Mhm.
And one of it is always going to be like, because there's going to be new characters introduced, obviously, as we get further down the line. I hate the fact that characters become so useless that you don't even use them no more.
Yeah.
It like bothers me. So it drives me nuts. So things like that we would see in other animes, we'd be like, all right, we're going to change that. Like we're not gonna have something like this, or just the fact that it's not one main character, it's 4 main characters.
Right.
is already a big change, so it already adds challenge to how we write things and, everything like that.
Mm.
So,
Now,
yeah.
even instinctively as to how that influence matters, the creation of the four brothers not only stems from just you, but through a course of friends that you've had for a very long time, that you kind of like basically intersected a lot of those characters with the personalities of your friends.
Exactly. Yep.
And who are they?
Mhm. They're my adopted brother, Matthew. He would represent Sky. My cousin, Corey, he represents Shock. My best friend, Hassan, he represents Hydro, and I represent Pyro.
Mm.
So when we sit down together, it's kind of like, it does. I know the last time I did an interview, someone asked me, "Oh, so does that mean that they only like have control of their character and the storyline?" And it's like, no, that's
Hmm.
not all they do. They obviously tell me, like, we all go over the story plot and they tell me each what they want to see, how they want this to progress and everything. Now, if there's a special thing they want for the characters, then yes, they will tell me, hey, I saw this, or I would love my character to have a moment like this. Then
Right.
it's my job to implement that,
Mm.
you know? So that way, I feel that having four different perspectives kind of gives this a four different flavor, for the comic, and that way, have different personalities going into it, so you can attract different type of people for what they might find alike, in a comic or in an anime.
Right,
So,
right. Now I'll ask you something that I asked Chris Michaels, of course, the creator of Crit, that I know you were very close with. Now, you guys have been doing this for a minute, and I know because
mhm.
I've had the chance to talk to you guys for that long. You know, so as far as your journey through indie comics, like how has your comic been received? But now it's been like close to 5 years, if not five.
So I'll talk about the positives and I'll talk about the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
So um, the positives is, me, I actually did a couple of cons with Chris already in the past few months. I went down to South Carolina, North Carolina. We did Hero Con together.
Oh, okay, in North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. I forgot the name of the other con we did before that. And we might be doing one in November in Raleigh, uh, South Carolina, I think it is. Raleigh,
Raleigh, North Carolina. That's North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. So one of the best things, best feelings that you can do feel as a creator is to be at one of these conventions and to have someone just come and be like, "Oh my God, you're here." And it's like, "I'm sorry, who you talking to?" They're like, "You, Jerry." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Oh man, we follow E4 Comics, we follow the Elements, blah, blah, blah. When's the next issue coming out?" And it's just like, "Are you really here to talk to me?" Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really that important. I'm not that special. Like, I'm not that big at all, And it's just like to see people show up to a con and know who you are. And they're like, "Yo, when's the next issue? I'm back to Kickstarter before. I'm waiting for
Yep.
the next issue and everything." It's just a whole different feeling, you
Word.
know? Like, it's undescribable and everything. So, but at the same time, it's like also dealing. So, my biggest fault, my biggest negativity is that I'm not very good in front of the camera.
Okay.
So putting myself out there, I know lacks tremendously. So like promoting and everything is not really my strong point.
Right.
So that's kind of like where the negative that I feel is coming from. It's like I'm not reaching as much people as I might have used to, especially with the algorithms always changing. And, you know, Instagram was always like my major hub of, reaching new followers and
Yep.
everything. And the algorithm has changed dramatically. And unfortunately, I had to take about a year off
Mm-hmm.
because I went to paramedic school.
Okay.
So after I graduated medic school, I went back to Instagram trying to do my promotion. My reach has dropped dramatically, you
Mm.
know. So now you can also kind of see that like towards my Kickstarter that I now I'm seeing to myself, I need to get on more interviews. I
Right.
need to do more lives. I need to do this because like my backers went from this number to this number,
Mm-hmm.
and Obviously, when I was really promoting, it was up there. Now that I'm not, it saw a dramatic drop. So it's me having to get back into the rhythm to really get
Word.
into, building this platform.
I think this, I guess, it's also a skill in the comic book making process as far as creators are concerned, because they have to do their own marketing. So
Mhm.
that's why I feel like I fit in. I mean, so I can tell you from the last time that we spoke, the episode that we did actually did like some really good numbers. So
Mm,
like as far as just like plugging certain projects, when people see exactly what the project is for themselves, it's just, it bolsters tenfold, regardless of like, I mean, there's a lot of people that are like a real good mouthpiece for a very
mhm.
shitty project. So I mean, I don't want to put that out there, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, definitely. Yep,
Word.
I agree.
Yep, but it's a good thing, man, when like you have an opportunity to go to a convention and
Hmm.
you were 5 states away. You live in New York. So
Hmm.
down in North Carolina, and they already know about the comic. They know about you,
Yeah,
they know about the comic, so on and so forth. But to put it out there, because I remember you telling me when you first started putting like the two main issues together, from issue 0 into the Element Saga, with the Dice Saga and everything like that. And then you started to do the spin-offs when you did the spin-off of Clenith and so on and so forth. Did you feel like at that point in time with the four brothers that you ever wanted to split them off to do their own spin-offs solo?
100%, hundred
Okay.
percent. Because I don't want, like, after the Dyson saga, I guess you could say me and the fellas are really gonna have to sit down and decide exactly the direction of where the brother's gonna go to next. Because further down the line, like, they're not always going to be on Earth. They're going to be in space. They're
Mm,
going to be going on their own separate missions. They're going to be teamed up with other people that's going to be backing them up on their own missions. Like, that's how far along, like, we plan to expand this story.
right.
So, and then even just reading like issue 2, for example, like if you read the ending of issue 2, Burning on Truth, when you first introduce Dysis, there's like a little gem there where Dysis is looking on his computer. He's like, okay, they said Earth, right? They said it just came from Earth. And then the system's like, yo, we have no recollection of an Earth. It's non-existent. And
Mm,
he's like, that's weird because we have the same database as the Rashir, which is the good military where Clenith is from.
right.
So how is it that it's not in the computer, but yet these henchmen just told me they went there? So he had to do like a little thing where he followed the trail, the ion trail, and followed that to find his way to come to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's a, that's a hidden thing right there. There's a reason for that, you
Right.
know.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of in the Marvel universe when Cat started to like figure out that they're like, I think it was within the Nova Corps, that they were calling
Mhm.
them Terrans the entire time. It's like, oh, you're from Terra. And it was like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm from Earth. It was like,
yeah,
that ain't Earth.
yeah,
That's Terra. And
yep.
he's basically like telling them that like they've learned all their life within their own planet exactly what their planet's name is. But to people outside of that planet,
Why?
they have
It's
another name
something
for it.
else. Yep,
Right.
exactly.
So
So, and
now
then
go ahead.
also another hidden thing that's in Burden of Truth is that even Clenith gets a surprise. Like when Clenith realizes, okay, these are the four brothers that have the elemental powers. But while he was training them, he's like, I don't get it. Where are the stones? Because warriors before
Mhm,
them wore the stones, whether it was a necklace, in their bracelet, belt, whatever it is, they wore the stones.
mhm.
The stones are somehow embedded inside the brothers.
So they're like the physical embodiment of the stone themselves.
Yes. So now even Clenith is like, I'm not sure what this means. So I'm not even sure what you guys are capable of right now because I've never seen or heard about this before, you know? And that's like another gem that eventually will be revealed later on.
So as far as the elements are concerned, they're not basically, I guess they're foreign to Earth. The way that they basically were contracted by the brothers is a whole story all in itself. But
Hmm.
are they, I guess it was their original source strictly from Clenith's home planet,
In creating the stones or the brothers.
the in creating the stones.
So no, the stones are more, I guess you can say, cosmic thing. They were kind of like used in the creation of the universe,
Hmm.
so that's kind of like where their power comes from. So it's kind of like unknown exactly who created the stones. I guess we can all just say God created the stones kind of thing. Like he
Right.
used it to like create, fire, da da da, stuff like that to create the universe and everything. So, but they don't originate from there. They just basically have like the Rashir Empire is basically an organization that help with peace amongst planets, help for foreign trades among worlds and everything. But their major task is
Mhm.
keeping peace and keeping the stones, protected. And
Ah,
that's just been what they've been doing for centuries and everything. And then every few centuries, four have been proving or chosen to harness those powers whenever like a big evil was to threaten the universe or anything like that.
got you.
So you've had people that's been around the previous elementals, before like Clenith, who dealt with them for alongside them. Because in the Clenith story, it's more of a military based thing. So you have the four elemental aliens, and then you have like their own division that's built around them,
Mm.
those elemental warriors. And Clenith eventually becomes one of those members, so he has history with the stones.
Another thing to actually like point out something that's particularly obvious, but I don't think a lot of people talk about. The brothers themselves, orphans,
Hmm.
the parents of these boys, as far, and we haven't gotten that far in the story yet, but as far
Nope.
as like the origin of the parents of them and where they coexist in this entire story, it still has not been brought to light yet.
Nope.
And
Not at
probably
all.
it probably won't till like later on because when we meet them, they're of course they grew up in an orphanage. They get met with Clenith to be more so of a guardian and also the trainer and protector of them.
Hmm.
Better yet, even in talking, they don't talk about like I wonder what my parents were, or wonder who my parents were, or how how did I get here? There's none of that talk.
Not
So
yet.
like you got something in the pocket.
We
I
got a
mean,
lot of stories to cipher through after the whole Dyson saga. That's why I love the Dyson saga, but I guess you can kind of say I'm a little bit more excited to going beyond the Dyson saga.
right, because
You know.
currently it's like, okay, these boys have the stones, they have this significant source power, but they're also being hunted. And even more so often than just that particular point is like, okay, how did they get to that orphanage and who put them there?
Yep. It'll all be revealed further down the line. So it's getting there. It's definitely gonna get there because there's three Dices episodes. So the third one is gonna be the last final episode, and even with that, there's going to be like introduction to like a couple of new things.
Mhm.
So and we've already sat down. We're already going through it because remember, eventually this whole issue one, two, three has to go back to issue zero.
Mhm.
So if you have issue zero, the villains that they're eventually going
Right.
to encounter. So we all basically the story still has to make its way around to that. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things to play with in between that, and then on top of that, the Clennis story we hope will help also fill in a few gaps as well in between that as well.
So when I'm looking at it is the Dices Saga is of course like three particular strong books. You have the Elements issue 0, you have the Clenith Saga. It's like I think it's as of right now, it's like close to what, 6, 7 books that you've put out so far.
Yeah, if you include issue zero, then it will be 6 books.
6 books. So this has
6
been
books.
this has been your baby for like for about 5 years now. And I don't mean to push another subject, but it's almost like, have you thought of like jumping into any of the genres? Have you conjured in your mind any of the stories that you wanted to do? Or is this just going to be your baby going forward?
As in creating like a brand new like title or story and everything, you
Yeah,
mean?
like you ever wanted to just jump into any other genre? Yeah, I mean,
I
the manga angle is definitely working for you.
Oh, dude, there's definitely. I have about 3 other stories that I definitely would like to create.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like I said, it's all about the funds. It's already difficult enough to keep up with this, and
Yeah.
now doing the Clenith story on top of that. There's a tech story that I was thinking about, like a mecha story.
Oh, like
There's
a
one
mech.
that I've
Okay.
mm-hmm,
Like
definitely
a
one
like a
that I was gonna do
Gundam
it.
type Robotech type joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Because one of the animes that I grew up watching that I fell in love with was Technoman. So, and then
Okay.
on top of that, one of my favorite RPG games of all time is Xenogears. So, like, I've always wanted to get into that type of genre as well. And then another one is going to be, I guess, a little bit medieval magic kind of thing, warrior, wizard, paladin, and everything like
Yeah,
that.
like high fantasy type deal.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to break into something like that, but until things are obviously in a better situation, like this is always going to be my baby.
Look,
You know.
there's nothing wrong with putting an entire project into completion first.
hmm
It's like it's okay to put all your eggs in one basket, especially with a story that you like kind of like beloved, and it's like you want to see it reach its completion, and then you feel like if you did another story right now, it would take away from the completion of what you're actually doing.
Yeah, exactly. So at least like with the Clennis story, another reason, having it grow side by side, another reason because we were going to wait a little bit longer before putting the Clennis story out. But the reason why we felt that, let's just start doing it now is because if you remember my very first Kickstarter, the highest tier was
Mhm.
you can create your own character
I do
in
remember
my
that. Yep.
story. I feel that that is a bit unique for me because I've known a ton of people to have done that. But it was kind of like, you were introducing this character as a quick side character or someone to get killed or, a passerby in the background. Like it wasn't a significant thing.
Right, right, right.
I actually plan on using these characters in like pretty significant storylines, because at the same time when we first was thinking about creating the element story, we've created a ton of characters, but there was more characters we wanted to create.
Right.
And these people basically gave helped us come up with these ideas just to see their characters come to life. And so it was just like perfect. So that way we have more characters, we can introduce these characters, and people can see their characters, receive credit for their characters being in the book and everything. So
I
it's
do
a just a
know a
good
lot
fit.
of people that utilize that tier, and
Mhm.
they're honestly thinking that they're just going to be a side character, that they're pretty much going to be a passerby, somebody that literally gets their head ripped off in page 3, and you never see them
Yeah,
again.
never see again. Yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? To let them know to let them know that they're actually going to have a story behind them. They might
hmm
they might be a, like a little covert villain that has their own story. They might be like a henchman that lasts like a whole 2 issues. You know,
hmm
that
Yep.
to be honest, that's kind of unique. It's something that I guess a lot of I guess only indie comic creators could actually do this.
Yeah.
You can't do
hmm
that shit mainstream. It's like, yeah, we're gonna put you in the comic, and you'll see him in the crowd looking up at the
hmm
Superman in the sky. It's like, yeah, that's me right there. Yo,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yep.
But to be honest, I mean that I don't think anybody's doing that to to
hmm
to actually put them out there like that. I mean that would feel more special from the reader's perspective. Be like, hey, I'm actually in it. and there's a backstory with a whole character name, but it's my face.
Yeah. hmm Or I give people an option is like, when we were coming up with the idea for the character, it was like you have a choice to be a good guy or bad guy. You can be a human or you can be an alien.
Mhm.
Uh, what kind of abilities do you like? Favorite color? And then like doing that is how we basically put those things together. You know,
God,
literally like the first three characters you meet in Clenith are actual real people characters that they created from my first Kickstarter,
mm,
you know? So it's something that I always said to myself, it would be great to see a character of mine on TV or, created in
word.
something. So I figured people would definitely enjoy seeing their character, and it's not just like a one-off kind of thing. It's kind of like, oh wow, my character has a significant role, you know.
True,
So
true. Well, first and foremost, congratulations already because you've already reached your goal. So with another 4 days to go, you pretty much are right now just pushing through till we hit the stretch goals till there's completion. So
hmm
that's always a good thing. I mean, look, for you to go from the last issue, which took like a year and some change, and then to go to this one and this one to get funded, it just shows that people didn't go away.
yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean? They was
hmm
they was looking for that shit when it came out. Word.
Like, what you doing, man? What
They're like, "What's
the
up?" It was like, I'm grabbing issue too. What's happening?"
hell?
Word. But
Definitely.
word. So that, hey man, this has been good, man. I'm happy that you got back out there, and we got a chance for Dice Saga issue 2 to actually like start hitting everybody's hands and everything like that once this goal is completed.
Yeah, I definitely want people to also take the time, check out the animation video. Like, this is what backing us helps us do. We
Hmm.
now have two animation videos
Yeah.
that we were able to create,
As a
and
matter of fact, shout out that creative team that does.
yeah, definitely, man. And, the last interview that I did, we spoke about the whole animation. They're like, yo, this is like insane. Like, how are you doing that? Like, I was like, trust me, it takes a lot of hard effort. And I had to take a couple of L's before I got to this point because, dude, for what I pay for these animation compared to the first animation team that I had to deal with,
Mhm.
they wanted, I think it was like 5 grand for just like 2 minutes, And it was like I managed to negotiate it down to like 3 grand. But
Oh,
when I tell you the quality, bro, when I get the chance after this, I'll send you it. Okay. So you can see it yourself. Like, and you'll see the quality of that. And it's just like, this is what 3 grand gets you. Like, this is horrible. Like, this is really not
mhm.
that great at all. And compared to because I've been dealing with this dude as an artist.
Mhm.
Like, dude, he does like side works for me, promotional artwork and everything for me while my artist is doing the comics. Since I've been dealing with him for such a long time, he was just like, hey, bro, I've been getting into animation. So, if there's anything you want me to do, I'll give you a good deal on it since you've been working with me for so long and I appreciate that. And I'm like, okay, bet. So I gave him the idea for it. He did the first 2 minutes for me, and he didn't even cost nearly as much as the first, person that I dealt with. And this is what he was able to create. And it's just like, people are like, yo, like,
Yeah.
where do you plan on going with this? And it's like, if everything goes according to plan, it would be great to start putting out like short, like episodes on YouTube
Yeah.
of this, you know? So people can really see the storyline in action and everything. So that would be like my next big goal that I would really love to put out there.
Sounds like a great idea. Sometimes it works to pay it forward, man. You got somebody actually on your team that wants to work with you and pretty
hmm
much says, "Hey, I'll do the animation for you because I've been working on it myself and I need projects to create."
hmm
So,
Yep.
I mean, that just works hand in glove, man. But that's excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing, man. So I definitely appreciated it. So the fact that we were able to come up with the second thing, the second animation, the only thing that we weren't able to do with this animation was the first animation
Yeah.
was our personal soundtrack. That
Uh,
was That was my good friend James and my good friend Anthony. They came together and they created that soundtrack for the first animation. So
That's what's up.
yeah.
Look, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with having friends in high places, man. That definitely works.
hmm Definitely. So I probably might end up reutilizing the second animation and have them still come up with a thing for it,
Yep.
because people really enjoyed that whole hip hop mix to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely might continue doing that.
Excellent. Jerry, I appreciate you doing this with me, man. This was real good, man. I'm glad that the project is fulfilled the goal. Now we in the stretch goals, man. We just pretty much in the home stretch.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. It's like I definitely want to keep in touch, want to do this more often and everything. Like,
We got
you
to.
know,
Now you know where to find me.
hell yeah. Not losing contact again. Like I said, when I first saw your names, I was like, there's no way that's the James that I'm thinking about, because I don't know what the hell happened to him. So
Uh-huh.
I'm very, very happy and grateful to see that you're doing very well, brother. Like,
I
this
appreciate
makes me
that.
happy.
Yeah,
It's
man.
people like you that help us get our projects out there, get heard and everything. And, you know, doing an interview with you, it's like very different because it's kind of like you know our project, you
Oh
read
yeah.
our books, you you ask the questions, within the book and everything, and stuff like that is something like a creator like me truly appreciates. So thank you for what you do, bro.
That's word, man. Look, anytime I can help, man. So 4 days left. Almost at the end of this project. Pretty much we're probably going to go into issue 3. Almost probably creating that as we speak. If I'm asking
hmm
correctly. Yep.
Yep, definitely.
Yep. So if for anybody out there listening, 4 days left, live on Kickstarter. Elements-Dysis Saga issue 2 is live right now. Go out there and get that for yourselves. If you haven't had a chance to get it on Kickstarter, you can definitely go to e4comics.com. Jerry has everything on his store. He can hook you right up. You can start from the
Yep.
beginning if you want.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like another little thing that we do have, it's a little gem that we have within our Kickstarter, and it's something that's always going to be in my projects moving forward. It's an organization that I truly appreciate. It's called Comic Book for Kids,
Hmm.
CB4K tier. So if you just happen you're not a big comic book person, but you want to help support and everything, this is like the perfect tier, because by you backing this tier, you allow us to send our comics to this organization, which also send those comics to sick kids in hospitals.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so you help fund this organization just by picking that tier. And that's something we've had, I think, since our second Kickstarter, and we're gonna have that moving forward.
That's even more reason to even just back the project, man. The fact that you've been able to add your talents to contribute to an organization to actually get comics in kids' hands, that makes it even more worthwhile.
Yeah. So I love the organization. They're great. I've spoken to them multiple times. I've made multiple deliveries to them of our comics and everything. So, and they truly appreciate it. So
Yeah. That's tenfold, man. That's a good thing you're doing for real.
thank you, man.
Absolutely. So for everybody out there, Jerry Chatelain, Elements-Dysis Saga issue 2, once again live on Kickstarter. 4 days left. Go out there and get that if you haven't had the chance already. E4comics.com. Start up your read on the elements as we speak. So for myself, James Grandmaster Facts Boys, Jerry, go out there and get that. We are out.